operate according to the advice of the ministers.
Frustration at that prospect?
I don't know. With any luck, I shall be so old I won't mind at all.
Need to put people in the know.
I'm your man.
Frank Stubbs the name.
Prepared to be impressed.
Promotion's the game.
Some of us thrive in the fast lane, and some of us, well...
Wheeling and dealing.
Oh, money, money, money.
Ducking and diving.
I'm in deep and terminal, wall-to-wall excremental substances.
So you win some, you lose some.
I've never run a client over before.
Frank Stubbs, a new series, Mondays soon on Carlton.
The Rover 214 Special Edition, with 7-spoke alloy wheels, electric front windows, remote-controlled alarm, sports seats with Silverstone leather trim, from just £10,495. How do they do it?
Uncle Ben's sweet and sour sauce combines pineapple, tamarind and spices for the perfect taste. Onions, bamboo shoots and peppers for perfect crunchiness. No wonder more people enjoy Uncle Ben's sweet and sour than any other you can buy. Uncle Ben's, perfect results every time.
See the difference. St. Ives Swiss Formula Hair Repair Hair Thickening Shampoo with dexpanthenol leaves your hair thicker after just one shampoo. For fine, wispy or thinning hair, St. Ives Hair Thickening Shampoo. Feel it working.
Summer's just about here, but don't panic. If you get on the Slim Fast plan today, you could lose 10 pounds in a month. The plan's easy. The calories have been counted, the fat grams have been computed. You don't even have to think about nutrition. It's all in there. A shake for breakfast, one for lunch, a sensible dinner, even bars as snacks. So start today. By the time the weather heats up, you could look really hot. Slim Fast, come on, start today. You could lose 10 pounds in a month.
Free? So what's the catch?
There is no catch. 4 free choc and nut cones worth £1.49 when you buy Wall's Blue Ribbon ice cream. That's why Mum's gone to the Great Iceland giveaway.
Once again, the Cook Report have had a busy series. They've been asking awkward questions about everything from bent bullfights to drugs in the playground, from dubious inquests to pre-teen burglars. Catch up on the outcome in the Cook Report update tomorrow at 8:30 on Carlton.
Who will Ireland meet in the last 16 of the World Cup? Belgium, Holland or Saudi Arabia? Find out on ITV at 11:10 tonight in World Cup '94.
At 11:10 tonight, highlights of the final matches in Group F of World Cup '94. But now tonight's main news from ITN with John Suchet.
The ITN Evening News with John Suchet.
The moment Prince Charles crash-landed the royal plane.
After that interview, MPs will discuss the consequences. New delays to the tunnel, France says Britain's to blame. And is this another piece of Becker gamesmanship? Good evening. It's been a day of anticipated controversy but unexpected drama for the Prince of Wales. Controversy over tonight's documentary, drama when he crash-landed a plane of the Queen's flight. The Prince had taken the controls as the plane came in to land on the Isle of Islay. As it touched down, 3 tyres burst and the plane skidded off the runway. The Prince wasn't hurt. Later he said, "It's not something I'd recommend." ITN's Glenn O'Glaser reports from Islay.
An amateur cameraman captured the moment when the jet, piloted by Prince Charles, touched down. Smoke began to billow from its tyres. As these exclusive pictures show, the Prince braked hard, but he hadn't left himself enough room to stop, eventually coming to a halt at a 90-degree angle to the runway. Had the aircraft continued to run straight on, it would have gone into a ditch. It might have broken up, even exploded. Flying conditions today are not bad here. There is a wind, but not strong enough to cause this. Other pilots here say the pilot of this plane must have been flying with a tailwind to come off the end of the runway.
It's going rather fast to make the end of the runway. As it got to the end of the runway after a large bang, which may have been a tyre going, the pilot slewed the plane round to the left to avoid going straight off the end of the runway.
First of all, it came in the wrong way, we thought, because it came in with the wind as opposed to against it. But more than that, it was the speed.
Prince Charles continued with his schedule, visiting a local school. So unruffled by the near disaster, he was able to joke about it.
It wasn't quite a crash. Went off the end of the runway, unfortunately. Only just. It's not something I recommend happening all the time.
The Prince, an accomplished pilot who's been flying for more than 20 years, returned to the mainland by helicopter, abandoning the damaged jet, fortunate to have escaped serious injury. Glenn O'Glaser, News at 10, Islay.
The Prince has been involved in scares before while flying. Today's latest incident raises 2 important questions. How did this one happen? And should the Prince be allowed to fly himself? ITN's Kevin Dunn reports.
Prince Charles is a keen pilot who loves to take the controls for takeoff and landing. Tonight's documentary shows him in the captain's seat on the left of the cockpit, bringing an identical aircraft into land in Mexico at the start of an official visit. The 146 is specially designed for short takeoff and landing. It has an excellent reputation for safety, but in one respect differs from larger jets.
One thing it does not have is a thrust reverser system, which you find on perhaps the big Boeing or the big Airbus aircraft. You have to use the brakes to stop the aeroplane.
So what happened at Islay's Port Ellen Airport? The plane landed on the airport's longer runway at 5,000 feet, more than long enough for a 146. But eyewitnesses say it touched down too fast and too far down. Unusually, it landed with a tailwind, and although it braked sharply, it slewed to a halt just overshooting the end of the runway. Even close examination of the video of the Prince's landing cannot establish whether the tyre burst on impact or under the pressure of braking.
These aeroplanes are fitted with anti-skid devices, so you can apply the brakes fully on without risk, unless you have a problem, of the tyres, the wheels locking and therefore skidding and causing a tyre to burst. But the brakes heat quite a bit, and perhaps that's what finally caused the tyres to burst.
Prince Charles won his wings in 1971, flying Phantoms for the RAF. Apart from flying, he's relished physical and potentially dangerous sports such as polo. He is also a keen skier and narrowly escaped death 6 years ago in an avalanche which killed a friend. Today's incident is bound to lead to calls for the heir to the throne to modify his lifestyle, but the Prince is unlikely to stop flying. It remains one of his favourite pastimes.
From the drama to the controversy, in tonight's documentary, the Prince did, as we said on News at 10 on Monday, say that he had been unfaithful after his marriage had broken down. He spoke too about divorce, saying it wasn't a consideration at the moment. MPs were watching the programme. The Conservative Committee on Constitutional Affairs tonight called a meeting to discuss the implications of what the Prince said. ITN's Penny Marshall reports.
Tonight, an estimated 15 million viewers sat in judgment on the man and the monarchy as ITV's long-awaited documentary was screened.
This is the story of the Prince of Wales today. What he does, what he thinks,
The 2.5-hour
believes,
personal
what he
portrait
feels.
covered both his public duties and private life, including, controversially, his marriage.
Did you try to be faithful and honourable to your wife when you took on the vow of marriage?
Yes, absolutely.
And you were?
Yes. Until it became irretrievably broken down.
Amongst many other subjects,
having tried.
he went on to talk about his friendship with Camilla Parker Bowles, the subject of intense public speculation.
What you've said.
Mrs. Parker Bowles is a great friend of mine. I have a large number of friends. I'm terribly lucky to have so many friends who I think are wonderful and make the whole difference to my life, which would become intolerable otherwise. And she has been a friend for a very long time, and along with a lot of other friends, and will continue to be a friend for a very long time. And I think also most people probably would realize that when marriages break down, awful and miserable as that is, that so often, you know, that it is your friends who are the most important and helpful and understanding and encouraging. Otherwise, you would go stark raving mad. And that's what friends are for.
The Prince said he didn't think divorce was an impediment to becoming king, but he wasn't considering it at the moment. On other matters, the Prince has strong views on national service, which he favours, and he said he believed the monarch's role as defender of faith should cover all faiths. Tonight, the Conservative Constitutional Affairs Committee said it would be meeting next week to discuss the implications of his remarks.
Well, let's say I'm disturbed, because that is the right word at this stage. He's only saying he might divorce. He's only saying he would like to be defender of all the faiths. I think he's a man that sits back and thinks deeply. And unfortunately, sometimes some of his words run ahead of his constitutional commitments.
Meanwhile, this afternoon, at a preview of the film, the journalist behind it, Jonathan Dimbleby, was saying nothing about the project. And afterwards, commentators rushed to pen their differing verdicts.
We haven't made up anything nasty. I mean, he's admitted it.
I think definitely a big mistake to have done it, yes. I think they'll live to regret it.
He complains about cameras being ever present to cameras that he was invited to be ever present.
I would give him for performance 7, but a good job for an amateur. For message, I'd give him 8, and for the film itself, overall, 6.5, too long.
The Anderson family of Sale, Manchester, watched it every minute of it. On the whole, they believed it would do the Prince good rather than harm.
I respect him, really, because he didn't have to say what he said.
Well, it's shown that he's only human, and you know, it can happen to anybody really. And at least he's admitted something. If he's not been happy, he's got out of it.
In a poll published in tomorrow's Daily Mirror, 61% said Charles was still fit to be king, and 54% said he was right to admit the affair. Princess Diana, who declined to take part in the programme, was tonight attending a charity dinner while her husband spoke of their past and future to millions. The princess may have chosen to go private, the prince to go public. These personal decisions, so closely scrutinised by the media, can only fuel the debate on the future of the monarchy.
Well, in the studio with me now is our royal correspondent, Nicholas Owen. Well, Nick, the Prince made that admission of unfaithfulness. Has this documentary hurt him?
Well, the Prince's allies have been saying since Monday that they wanted people to judge him on the whole film, not just dwell on a few selected quotations, and many people, I'm sure, will be very impressed, particularly at things like the way he behaved under fire in Australia. The trouble is he bears his soul on almost every topic, including his marriage, so he can be picked apart and criticised on so many things. And as that Conservative MP indicated, some of what he said does raise fundamental questions about the future of the Crown.
As you say, he's expressed his views on a wide range of issues. Which are the most important?
Well, I think there will be great concentration on what he says about religion. I am one of the people who searches, he says. He wishes to be defender of faith, not the faith. Nice thought, hard constitutional issue. The great, with his children there, the rumbustious hide-and-seek with Prince Harry at Balmoral and so on, the interesting ideas, community service and so on, but running through it a thread which will, I think, evoke great sympathy, complaint about the lack of privacy, the intrusion of the media.
He's been in the news in another capacity today as the pilot in a near-air disaster.
Yes, of course, we've no idea exactly what went wrong on Islay today, but he has had more than his fair share of scrapes in all sorts of areas. The trouble is, as he kept saying, every step, every stumble is chronicled. My feeling really was that it was absolutely incredible to see the heir to the throne grilled about his personal life. And he looked at times a very sad figure, really, a man who is clearly in great turmoil and great anguish. It was a great historic moment for all sorts of reasons. Whether the Prince lives to regret it, we're going to know, I suppose, in the next few weeks.
Thank you, Nick. Yet another delay to rail services through the Channel Tunnel was announced today. The high-speed passenger trains due to start running from London to Paris and Brussels this Friday won't now start until the end of September at the very earliest. The French and Belgians are blaming Britain. Our South of England correspondent Robert Hall reports.
It's the flagship of the new cross-channel rail services, but tonight the Eurostar, one of the fastest trains in the world, is once more held back by the frustrating delays that have haunted the Channel Tunnel project. The problem, once more, is the disparity between track and signalling on either side of the channel. Here, engineers estimate they need at least a further 2 months to resolve problems which would force a dramatic speed reduction once the Eurostar reached the British end of the tunnel.
Trains running through run on 3 electrical systems and on 4 signalling systems. So one of the main problems is simply testing these trains and making sure they'll run and won't break down while in the tunnel.
The decision to delay services was taken jointly by French, Belgian and British Railways. But Eurotunnel, who are still carrying out safety and evacuation drills ahead of full passenger services, refute talk of a further setback. They maintain that with freight shuttles already running, their phased startup is on schedule. Confidence in the prestige 3-hour passenger service between London and Paris is crucial to the project's success. But potential customers now using the ferries may have to wait until the end of the year to travel by tunnel.
The government's new league tables for hospitals published today have been sharply criticised for what they don't measure, like standards of treatment. They've been called meaningless and a gimmick. The general public didn't seem sure what to make of them, as our health correspondent Anya Sitharam reports.
Patients were finally able to peruse the long-awaited hospital league tables today. This was their reaction.
I can't make sense of it, and the star system certainly looks most complicated.
Is it for the public to use, or is it just for the doctors to use? Because the public wouldn't understand any of this.
The Health Secretary, Virginia Bottomley, said the tables were the key to a more open, accountable NHS. She said they showed standards had improved, although no hospital had scored 5 stars in every category.
To mothers who, years gone by, used to be booked in at 9 in the morning with 2 young children, might not be seen till lunchtime. The fact that 8 out of 10 outpatients are now seen within half an hour is a demonstration of what can be achieved when you measure what's happening in the NHS.
The hospital categories measure outpatient waiting times, whether patients are immediately assessed in accident and emergency, non-emergency treatment waiting times, priority for patients with cancelled operations, and the number of same-day operations. There were gold stars for patients at Great Ormond Street Hospital today, but it fared poorly. Its waiting times higher than others. One reason doctors say because more patients want to go there.